Capes on the Couch podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Dr. Issues is a psychiatrist, but he is not your psychiatrist and does not have knowledge of your individual situation. For any personal mental health concerns, please consult your own healthcare providers. For medical emergencies, please call 911 or the designated number in your area immediately. Remember that you are not alone and help is out there.
Hello and welcome to a special episode of Capes on the Couch, where comics get counseling. I'm Anthony Sitko.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
This is a special preview of our Patreon exclusive that we are going to be debuting. This is the first time we're doing this, so we wanted to release this out to the general public. Our patrons got this in advance, and you can listen to future episodes like this if you sign up for our Patreon page at patreon.com/capesonthecouch and you subscribe at the $3 level or higher. You can listen to reviews of comics, because Doc and I, we've been doing this now for about 2 years, this show, and we've talked about comic books. We've referenced a lot of the stories in the issues and in the episodes, but we've never really delved into the comic books themselves, because the comic books were sort of ancillary to the mental health discussions.
Right.
But Doc and I are both big comic book
fans.
readers. We're
Yeah.
definitely fans. I mean, if you have watched us on our YouTube channel, you see in the background, there's a giant file cabinet next to Doc. That is a giant legal-size filing cabinet that I acquired through Craigslist. And it is filled top to bottom with comic books. There's comic book artwork in my office. I have the Captain America shield tattooed on my body. So comics are something that Doc and I enjoy very, very much.
Right.
And we thought this would be a fun little bonus for the patrons, for those fans of our show that we are incredibly grateful for every month for giving us just a few of your hard-earned dollars. We definitely appreciate that. You could spend that money any way you choose, and you choose to spend it on us.
Yeah, I will come clean and say I do not have a filing cabinet full of comics or anything like that. I may or may not have a boatload of CDs and DVD-Rs with a lot of .cbr files, but
and CBZs.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, but yeah, I do collect just in my own special way. All legal now.
Yes. When I was, I confess too, when I was younger, they weren't all legal. But now that I have the income and the wherewithal, and now that our patrons are very generous and have allowed us to become financially solvent, we are purchasing all of our comics legally. I promise you. We purchased this one legally, and all of these books we buy legally through Comixology or other methods. So I just want to throw that out there, that we're not cheating anybody out of money. But so, like I said, so this in the future is going to be a Patreon exclusive, but for this first one, we wanted to give you a heads up as to how we're going to run, how this is going to go. So essentially, we are going to provide a breakdown of a particular trade paperback. We will go over the plot, and then we will discuss our thoughts on the artwork, on the story, what we liked, what we didn't like, et cetera, et cetera. So the first one we opted to go with, and there's really no rhyme or reason for, I think, the ones that we will pick. This one, at least, it was on sale on Comixology. And so I said, oh, let's get that one. So
all he had to do was say it's Joker. I'm like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, basically, it didn't take a whole lot of arm twisting to get Doc to agree to review this one.
Yeah, really. He could have said, no, it's like a version of the Joker's Wild, game show. Like, okay.
The one with Snoop, it's just so stupid. Anyway, and the other thing is that for the patrons, these episodes are going to also be uncensored. We will try and keep it a little PG-13 at the very least for this one. But in the future, just so you know that we may be a little free of the tongue if it calls for it. So the trade paperback that we are choosing to debut our reviews on is Joker Endgame. And this collects the Batman Endgame storyline. So this collects Batman numbers 35, issues 35 through 40, Arkham Manor Endgame number 1, Batgirl Endgame number 1, Batman Annual number 3, Detective Comics Endgame number 1, and Gotham Academy Endgame number 1. So the main storyline is in the Batman book, and then there's a couple of those tie-in issues that fill in some of the things that are happening concurrently with the main storyline. So due to the nature of this, and this is like a 300-page trade paperback. This is a big one. This is a quite a bit to get through. So we're going to start on the main story first, the crux of this, the meat of the trade paperback, and then we'll get into the additional tie-ins. So the main story is written by Scott Snyder, pencils by Greg Capullo, ink by Danny Miki, colors by FCO Plascencia, and lettering by Steve Wands. So the plot of the story is Joker has returned after the death of the family storyline. So he starts off by infecting the Justice League with a toxin that causes them to all attack Batman, just one right after the other. Yep. And being Batman, he has contingency plans for each of them. But these contingency plans definitely take their toll on him. So after he subdues the League, he's trying to find a cure for this toxin. And so he goes to Arkham for clues. And he ends up surprised to see guard Eric Border, who has been sort of a recurring character throughout the last year or so as a guard. Or he's a doctor, I think. I'm not entirely certain. Because again,
So
I was coming into this.
There are
late.
A couple of variations on this, Eric. The point is he's an authority figure within Arkham. That's the bottom line.
So he's an authority figure within Arkham, except he turns out to be the Joker in disguise. Joker's been playing the long game for a year, that he's been in hiding in plain sight. He changed his face, changed his voice, everything. He's been Eric Border for about a year, takes Bruce by surprise. He paralyzes him with a gas and he leaves. So Bruce wakes up in the Batcave where Alfred and his daughter Julia reveal that the Joker has infected the city with the Joker venom, which spreads through aerial contact, primarily through laughter, which they point out laughter is really just a series of involuntary coughs. If you think about it, if you think about what your body goes through when you're laughing, the sound that you make,
diaphragmatic spasm.
It's a diaphragmatic spasm that's akin to a cough. Yeah. And there is no known antidote. Bruce previously has been able to stop Joker venom. He's figured out cures. He's figured out, retrovirals, this, that, and the other. There is no, and they've tried all of the previous methods. This one is incredibly resilient. This is, I think Alfred refers to it as his masterpiece.
Right. And as he infected the Justice League, he had tailored it to each one of them in terms of how it was going to affect them. And if you want to see some very heady stuff to start this off, to really kick it off, is Wonder Woman just straight up going at Batman to start. I'm like, oh, wow. I know that this is Joker stuff, but like, yeah, there's a twinge of truth to some of what she's going through. Dang. Okay.
Yeah. No, she first off, she doesn't even take on Batman. Originally, she beats the shit out of Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce doesn't know what's coming. So Wonder Woman is the first one to attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she hits Bruce and beats the shit out of him. And then he manages to call upon this suit. I don't know where the he gets the suit from. I don't know. This gas project or plan Fenrir, where there's this gas and evacuates everybody that, so they all flee the city so he can fight Diana one-on-one. And then he puts on the frictionless coating on the street, and that stops the Flash. And then he puts some sort of weird goo around Aquaman that prevents him from struggling any further. And then Clark shows up.
Oh boy.
And he has miniature red suns in his clubs. Let's
just drop that. I mean, that is, whatever. I'm sorry. That's just stupid.
And then that wasn't the thing. What got me was that he had the kryptonite gum that he spit.
He literally spit in his eye.
He spit. So Superman just basically rips the suit apart, grabs Bruce out of it, and flies him up basically into the upper atmosphere. I don't know if he's going to drag him into space, or if he's just going to drop him from that height. Yeah. But he spits this wad of gum with this kryptonite stuff into Clark's. I'm not making this shit up, folks. I swear to God. He spits kryptonite gum into Bruce's eye.
Which he keeps in his cowl. He says it.
He says he keeps it in his cowl. just for
so
just such an emergency.
Let's just go with that though. So he keeps it in his cowl for emergencies, which has kryptonite in it. We know that Lex Luthor got cancer from having a kryptonite ring. What the hell does Batman have now after all these years keeping something like that in his head? Jeez. Just saying. Yes, this is the type of off-the-wall stuff that you're going to get on Patreon, okay? You're going to get us talking about all sorts of angles that have nothing to do. I'm not going to lie. This isn't purely mental health driven.
Yeah, this one isn't so much about the mental health. This one is definitely, we can be a little more fun and open with this. So anyway, so back to the point. Meanwhile, Joker breaks into Jim Gordon's apartment and attacks him with an axe in the chest.
Yeah.
In the chest.
Yep.
And so Batman is on the phone with Jim at this point, and then the Joker picks up and he's like, "Oh, hey, Bruce Wayne." Mm-hmm. So Batman then discovers the Joker has a regenerative virus within his body, similar to the Lazarus pits, making him basically immortal. And he also discovers that the new Joker venom is the inversion of that virus. So whatever is keeping Joker alive is going to end up killing Gotham City.
That's the dumbest thing I've heard in a long time.
I will say that we're kind of shitting on this, but the way that it's written, it does flow a lot better.
Oh, it is fun as all get out. I really enjoy reading it. I'm just saying. Man, oh man, that's dumb.
Yeah. So Batman heads back to Arkham to find information on the virus, and he finds the doctor, Paul Decker, who discovered it. Dr. Decker calls the compound Dionysium after the god of rebirth, Dionysus, and says somehow Joker has it in his spine. This incredibly pure version of this virus that he contracted from a period of extreme stress or...
I'm going to give it some credence because... if he really had like a viral encephalitis, doesn't that explain a lot about the Joker?
I mean, yeah, but still, like, there's this compound that the Joker has in his spine, and it's keeping him alive, and it regenerates.
Yeah.
So Batman realizes that he's really in over his head. He goes to confront the Court of Owls about this. And for those that don't know, the Court of Owls.
Who?
The Court of Owls.
Who?
I just said the Court of Owls.
Who?
All right, we're not doing this anymore.
Sorry.
The Court of Owls was from a prior storyline. They are basically almost like the League of Assassins from Batman Begins. They are responsible for keeping Gotham safe in their own way. It's one of those things where it's a secret society. I'm not going to belabor the point too much. Suffice to say that they really don't get along with Batman at all. So the fact that Batman is crossing his own personal Godzilla threshold to go to the Court of Owls to say, I need your help on this. So they, in turn, they don't care if Gotham burns. They'll just simply rebuild it from the ashes. So they're like, man, that's nice. We don't give a shit. So then he battles one of the Talons. The Talons are the hand-picked assassins within the Court of Owls. So while he's battling one of the Talons, the Joker breaks into the Batcave, chops off Alfred's hand, just slices it clean off, like the whole right hand.
Yeah.
And steals a whole bunch of trophies from the cave. Doesn't steal anything else, doesn't blow up the Batcave, none of that. No. He steals trophies.
Yep.
Because Batman is a hoarder.
Yeah.
He's not quite on the level of like a TLC, where like you can't walk in there or there's, literal shit all over the floor. But Batman is a hoarder.
He keeps a dinosaur. Who keeps a dinosaur?
Never mind the dinosaur. He's got the giant penny.
Well, I can understand a penny holding sentimental value.
No, the dinosaurs. The dinosaur is cool.
No.
The penny is just weird.
No, you missed it. The penny holds sentimental value.
Oh, God. All right, Riddler.
I've held that joke. I've had that lined up in my head for years, and I never had a chance to say it. So thank you.
Well, congratulations. So anyway, Batman gathers his allies and a few enemies like Bane, Penguin, Ivy, Clayface, Scarecrow, Killer Croc, Mr. Freeze to help him battle through the Joker's mob so he can extract the fluid from Joker's spine to reverse the effects of the venom. And the way that he calls upon them all is by turning the bat signal upside down that's sort of like, I guess, like flying the flag upside down to show distress. So Batman fights his way to Joker only to be subdued by an ear-piercing scream. Joker tears off his mask to, revel in his glory before Batman succumbs to the venom, only to discover it's actually Dick Grayson.
Hello.
Meanwhile, Bruce sent Dick off as the distraction to discover this hidden cache of Dionysium under Gotham. And right as he's about to, as he's synthesizing the antidote and whatever, then Joker shows up. How Joker managed to get away from Dick and escape when Julia's been watching the whole time. And you'd think Bruce would have some sort of way of knowing that Joker was going to sneak up on him like that. No. So Joker shows up, stabs him once in each shoulder blade, and then like this big rip across the back. So it looks from behind like there's this giant, Joker smile slashed into Batman's back.
Which, by the way, that ends the fight.
No, it doesn't.
You can't move your arms.
No, it doesn't end the fight. No, because he's the guy Batman. You don't understand. They still continue to battle. I know. I get it. So they continue to fight, and they really beat the shit out of each other. I mean, just flat out. Joker throws embers in Batman's face. Batman is somehow still standing, and Joker gets royally fucked up.
Yeah.
And in fact, at one point, a stalactite falls on top of Joker and lands on the middle of his back and paralyzes him. Like basically just like breaks his back, his legs and everything. Oh. And he's still crawling along. So the whole cave collapses on top of both of them, and they're both believed to be dead. But Julia was able to get the Dionysium sample that Bruce sent her, and she synthesized a cure for the venom. So Gotham ends up being saved. But Batman and the Joker are dead.
Aww.
Or so we're led to believe.
Well, comics.
Because comics. So now that was a sort of lengthy plot review. This is the part where we're going to go over, what we thought. I enjoyed the story on the overall. I did think it dragged in some places. And the thing and we were discussing at the beginning of the review, the idea that Batman always has a contingency plan for everything that he can draw up at a moment's notice, and that he is prepared for every eventuality. He has a contingency plan for every single member of the Justice League, no matter what, no matter where, no matter when. It's tiresome. I mean, if we were really being real about this, I don't care what's going on. Superman would beat the shit out of Bruce Wayne, and it wouldn't even be close.
Okay,
but because he's Batman.
But to give it credit, the point was, since Superman wasn't in his right mind, he even makes the almost fourth wall breaking joke. So who wins in a fight between Superman and Batman? Ha 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 ha. And Batman's response was, when we fight, neither one of us wins. So to their credit, they're saying like, okay, fine, he had all these contingencies, but there's still the badass people that are going to all get hurt. So yes, he had them quote unquote subdued, but that doesn't mean that it was a victory.
No, I understand that. I'm just talking in general, just the idea that they always make Batman out to be this.
Batman is a prepper. That's what he is.
I know he's a prepper, but you can't prep for every thing. It's not.
Well, the problem with prepping from a modern standpoint is too much bulk involved. Where are you going to keep 6 months supplies of food and stuff for the things that we typically think about, not how to deal with a Kryptonian with, the strongest body ever imagined. We don't have to deal with that stuff. He does.
Yeah, but again, like I said, the fact that, Wonder Woman shows up, so completely surprises him out of nowhere, smashes him into a wall and everything.
Well, that's, once again.
And then, throws him out on the ground, and he's talking to Julia and Alfred in the headset, and he's like, oh no, deploy Fenrir, get the gas and everything. And they're like, oh, can you get to the suit? Where the fuck does this suit come from?
Right.
And now all of a sudden, he's in the middle of the street with this giant mech suit.
Yeah.
Look like a Gundam.
Yeah, well,
fighting Wonder Woman.
I mean, it looked like the Hulkbuster armor.
It did kind of look like the Hulkbuster armor. But where the fuck did he get it from?
I wish I had an answer. No, actually, I don't wish I had an answer. I'm dropping that. I get that it's really pushing the boundaries of what you think Batman would be able to do in a circumstance like that, considering he was already injured. He was recovering, and Diana attacked him literally from behind. Like, are you kidding me? You want to get snuck by someone? Don't get snuck by her. You're not surviving that. And we know Batman's human. So, yeah, got it.
So I did, and I know it sounds like we're shitting all over this. I did enjoy the story. It was very, very entertaining. And I will say that Greg Capullo's artwork, I love his pencils. I mean, he's just fantastic. He has such a detailed style. Mm-hmm. And it's not overly done, but always in just the right. The details are in just the right places that it draws your eye to the places where you're supposed to be looking, and in a way that is just like I said, it's very well done, and it's enhanced by Danny Miki's artwork. Danny Miki, I fell in love with Danny Miki's artwork when he was inking David Finch on. I think he inked David Finch on Wonder Woman, but before that, I know that Danny Miki was inking David Finch when he did the Moon Knight run for the bottom storyline when he did Charlie Houston was writing. So Danny Miki was on inks then, and his inks just really enhance the pencils. They're never, the inks are never too thick. They're never too thin. It varies depending on what the situation and what the story calls for.
So the thing that I noticed with that, when the Joker is going through like more long diatribes about whatever it is that he's talking about, you don't get much detail. Very short, terse words. You get really intense in your face graphics, and I only because I don't like the way the Joker is portrayed during this whole run. Not necessarily in a negative way. Just it's hard. I'm being honest. It's hard for me to look at. So the fact that they make it clear, as long as there's a lot of plot involved, fine, don't worry about it. But the second that it's back to literally the man, they make sure that it almost like a car wreck, like can't look away.
Yeah, and then FCO Plascencia's colors. I like the palette that they use. Very bold. The last issue uses a different color palette for the final fight between Batman and the Joker. I kind of found it very evocative of the Killing Joke. Very similar color palette, kind of muted. Bold but muted at the same time, if such a thing is possible.
No, you pick a certain number of colors, you minimize the number that you're going to use, but then you make sure that they pop. Yeah.
And again, throughout this whole thing, the colors were never overly saturated. I thought it was always a very effective use of coloring. So that's the main story. That's the Batman Endgame storyline. Now, as I mentioned, throughout this, there are some sub-stories throughout this. You have not just the tie-in issues, as I mentioned, Arkham Manor, Endgame, Batgirl, Endgame, Batman Annual 3, Detective Comics, Endgame, and Gotham Academy, Endgame. But also after, in each of the Batman issues, at the end of it, there are little sub-chapters of one particular story. So there's, I think, 5 or 6 chapters, 5 chapters at the end of the first 5 books in this run. So these chapters are written by James Tynion IV, and there's different artists in each chapter. And so these stories tell the story, all of these individual little mini vignettes, so to speak. They tell the story of Maureen Zahir, and she is a doctor at Arkham who's grabbed by 5 inmates, and they've all broken out, and she's trying to convince them, let's go back to Arkham. Let's go, it's going to be safe there. I can help take care of you. And each of the inmates has a different story to tell involving the Joker. And they tell her in the beginning, only one of them is right as far as the Joker's origin is concerned. Only one of them is right. The rest are wrong. And whoever is correct lives, the rest will die. And so each of these little mini vignettes is, as I said, it's all the same writer. It's James Tynion IV, but there's a different artist for each of them. And they tell, as I said, different stories. So my personal favorite one was Saved. I think it's the second one, where it's by Tynion, and Graham Nolan does the art. And this is a woman. She believed that the Joker turned her family into robots, and she was only able to save them by killing them and pulling the chips out of their heads. So that's how she ends up in Arkham. And she's convinced that, that the Joker somehow managed to turn her entire family into these robots. And they show her like very brutally stabbing her husband and children,
Yeah.
and then pulling these chips out of their forehead. And, oh, that's what made them different. But I've saved them now. And then the Joker shows up and he said, no, I convinced you. Yes, you did the right thing. And of course, Dr. Zahir is going, no, that's what he wanted you to think. That's not actually, that's not really what happened.
Right.
So that was my personal favorite. It was just, like I said, just a little different vignettes. And the other thing that I want to mention is the Heart story. I think that was number 4. It was 3 or 4, was drawn by Sam Keith, who was creator of the Max. And as soon as I started, I didn't even see his name on the thing, but I'm looking at the artwork. I'm going, this looks really familiar. This has a certain style. That's why it looks so familiar. Because that's
why I couldn't follow it. Sorry. Oh man.
No. See, James Tynion wrote it. Sam Keith was just drawing.
No, I know. I'm joking.
This was a lot easier to follow. But just like I say, he's got a very distinctive style.
Yeah.
So like I said, I enjoyed Saved.
I don't know why this didn't intrigue me at all. Like that whole series. I glossed over it a lot. I mean, I did look at it, but I'm like, okay, so be it. Everybody's got a Joker story to tell. That's from a completely different set, but similar premise.
Yeah. Well, no, you're talking about the Batman animated series episode.
Yes and no. There is a comic version of that too.
Okay.
Anyway,
but in any case, so Batman Annual number 3, written by James Tynion, pencils and inks by Roger Antonio, colors by Nick Filardi, and the lettering by Steve Wands. This tells the story of Tommy Blackcrow, who was a writer, and he wrote an expose on the Joker, and he called him a very lonely man. So Joker takes this to heart and decides to become Tommy's new best friend. And his response to this is to kill anyone who gets close to Tommy. And over several years. And every time Tommy thinks that he's free of the Joker and he started a brand new life, the Joker shows up, fucks it up in some way. And he said, oh, no, you didn't think I'd forget about you? No, of course, you're my best friend. I remember you.
Freaking bride when he got married.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
So he makes Tommy's life miserable. So Tommy ends up committing himself to Arkham. And he said, no, I'm cutting myself off from everybody. I don't have any friends. My only friend is you, Eric Border.
Yep.
Who, of course, and the beauty of this is that this story is told in the trade before the main story.
Right.
So this preserves the idea somewhat that Eric is the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
So this sort of leads into this. So I loved the story because I think it is very in character for the Joker to just pick somebody out and to just continually fuck with them repeatedly.
Oh, yeah.
My biggest problem is the way that Antonio drew the Joker. He makes him look like a doof because every time he draws the Joker smiling, he doesn't have a bottom lip.
Mm.
And so all I could picture was the Joker going, because I swear to God, though, that's how he made him look. He just looked like this doofus because he's just, every time he draws him, all you see is the top row of teeth. You don't see a bottom teeth and you don't see a bottom lip. And so if you do that as a person, you just go, you're going to go, oh, you're special, aren't you?
Which I appreciate because I honestly think that was kind of the point. Like, he wanted to make sure that it appeared like Joker just isn't getting something about actual relationships.
Oh, no. Again, the writing, I get that. But and I do sort of get the fact that they drew Joker as this like completely socially awkward individual. But because
it's endearing. The idea that someone's socially awkward saying, oh, he just wants a friend in the most terrifying way possible.
Yeah. Like I said, I love the story. I just think and I love everything else about it because I do think his detail was great. Just the way he drew his face.
And do me a favor. I know everybody reads comics and stuff, but if you get the way that he strung up his friend in that first time where he's really messing with him. Yeah. If you actually know what that is, like if you, because I read some reviews and people were saying like, what? He just has the person hanging there. I'm like, no, that's not what you're seeing, but whatever.
No, he's got his friend basically like hooked up through all of his joints so that the Joker is operating him like a human marionette.
Yes.
And then
a lot of people didn't get that, though. They were just like, oh, he's just got him suspended there. I'm like, that's not what he did.
No. And then he ties Tommy's wrists to the other end of the string.
Correct.
So now Tommy is responsible for making his friend move. That'll do a number on you mentally.
Yeah.
Arkham Manor Endgame by Frank Thierry tells a story of an attack on Arkham Asylum through the POV of a worker there, Stone, who's relaying this to Detective Harvey Bullock after the fact. This one was just like a meh.
Because they did Harvey Bullock an injustice with this one. He is a way more dynamic character than this portrayed.
Yeah, I'll be the first to confess, I don't know that much about Harvey Bullock. This one, he was just very much the angry bad cop, trying to get the story out of Stone. But I just thought the premise didn't move me.
Because
I thought
it didn't need to be said.
okay.
Yeah, but it didn't need to be said. This didn't add a single thing to any of it, in my opinion. I don't mind side stories. I get the POV part, but then at least give me some of the emotion behind it. Give me something interesting. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think this one, they were trying to make Stone, Bullock was trying to make Stone into, well, did you take part in this? Because I know you used to work for Penguin. You've got a rap sheet, as long as your arm, blah, blah, blah. And Stone was like, no, I had nothing to do with this. I wasn't part of this. I was trying to save people.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
Well, the best way I can put it is, if we're going to say this is a POV story, it was literally, well, you may have heard the story from the front view. I was looking at it from the side.
Yeah. Like I said, this didn't do much for me. Detective Comics Endgame, story by Brian Buccellato, tells the story of Lonnie Metchin. I don't know how to pronounce the kid's name. So he's a kid who's an expert hacker, and he's trying to find a way to save his mom during the Venom attack. And he works with the Bat family to save his mom, who I guess is working as a stripper. But like Spoiler shows up, and I think Red Hood and Red Robin. And so, some of the other Bat characters, they show up and they help this kid who has an app that can basically break into anything. I don't really know how the that's supposed to work. They're just like, he's like, oh yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, you're Spider Monkey or whatever his name is, or Monkey Saver or something like that. I don't even remember what it was. This was, again, a story that didn't really do much for me because it didn't really advance anything other than show what I guess some of the rest of the Bat family was doing as shit was going down. I guess that was really the only point of the story. So that one was just kind of like meh for me. Gotham Academy Endgame. Several writers worked on this and several artists as well. This is kid friendly, but I enjoyed it. And I know I just spent the last couple sub stories on them because I said they had nothing to do with the plot. This one has nothing to do with the plot either, but I found the way the construct, the framing mechanism was much more compelling. So there are several kids holed up at this school. And so they're sort of like camping out in the gym because they're like, all right, the school's on lockdown. Let's just stay in here. So they've got tents and stuff set up in the gym, and they're telling each other ghost stories. And so each one of them somehow relates back to the Joker, that they're all telling stories, and they all involve the Joker being used to scare the rest of the kids. So I enjoyed this one a lot because aside from the Joker bit, it felt very real to me that kids would be telling ghost stories during scary time because they're trying to turn the situation to their advantage. So there's scary stories, but there's some humor involved. Like I said, and the artwork is very, very kid friendly because each kid's story has a different artist. So it's just like a couple of pages and then you move to a different style. So I'm not going to bother running through all of the creators that worked on this, but,
cool.
but I really dug it. Like I said, it had zero to do with the plot, but at least it pulled me in. So I felt engaged with these kids. Okay. Just sort of my take on it. Gotcha. And then Batgirl Endgame, written by Cameron Stewart and Brendan Fletcher with art by Bengal. This is a wordless story. There's like maybe 3 words of actual spoken dialogue. And usually they're just like, or just like, exhortations. Yeah. It's a wordless story about how Babs is rescuing people trapped in the Burnside neighborhood because this is the whole Burnside Batgirl, young, sort of early 20s hipster Batgirl. And so she's rescuing people trapped in the neighborhood because the bridge has been sort of blocked off. So the Burnside neighborhood has been mostly unimpacted by what's going on in Gotham proper. And so she's just trying to figure this stuff out. She's trying to rescue a little girl on top of a bus. And I do think they kind of stretched the wordless conceit just a little bit. There were opportunities where I was like, just say something. Just like I understand in certain areas you're trying to be quiet. You're trying not to draw attention to yourself. So you really want to make it a whole, quiet thing. But I think that there were one or two instances where they made it wordless.
Yeah.
And they go through this whole big pantomime thing just so they could say, oh, we wrote an issue with no dialogue in it. Having said that, I do thoroughly enjoy wordless comics because it asks so much of the artist, and the really good ones can pull it off. And so you look back to the Lucky story from Matt Fraction's Hawkeye, which we talked about, the whole story from the point of view of the dog.
Yeah.
That was just like a masterclass in artwork. This one, not a masterclass, but it's still pretty good. Like I said, I know I was a little bit on it, that I think they stretched it a little bit too much, but I think that for what it was and for who Babs is as a character, it was very much in tune that she's communicating through emojis at one point. So I enjoyed it I thought it was pretty cute. So what about you? What do you have to say about, I guess, that the sub stories are?
It just in general, and what I'm about to say is almost, and it's not meant to be insulting, but with DC in general, so many of the side stories are throwaways. It's just not germane to the topic.
The goddamn German's got nothing to do with it.
Marvel, I think, has always done a much better job where you can have other areas where you say, oh, wait, that doesn't quite make sense. I do have to read more about this. DC makes it very clear. You can just go along the main line and not miss a thing. And I guess that makes it easier because you can pick anything up and just feel like you're right there. But it really limits what you can do, especially with someone like Batman, and you have the entire Bat family. So yeah, like you already said, you get to just throw them into other areas and you don't have to worry about messing up the main storyline, and people can feel like they can read other characters. But at the same time, that means that the other characters are considered useless. I'm not exactly sure that's how you build a fan base.
Fair criticisms. Fair points. So under normal circumstances, or I guess when we're reviewing a cohesive trade, or at least, one primary story, we'll give a 0 out of 10 scale, or a 1 out of 10 scale, or I guess 0 in theory. In theory, it could be 0 if it was really that bad. We'll give it on story and then on the art. Here, we're going to do the main story and then on the side tale. So I'm going to start off. For me, I'm going to give the story a 7 out of 10 and the art an 8 out of 10. I thought it was, as I said, very overall entertaining, engaging. The artwork, Greg Capullo is fantastic. So I do think that there's a lot good here. I don't want to give it like a 9 or a 10 because I feel like those grades should really be reserved for like the creme de la creme. I thought this was very good. Very, very good, but I'm not willing to go full bore on that. And as far as the story goes, I enjoyed what he was trying to say, and I do think that there was a lot to the Batman Joker dynamic. And this was sort of supposed to be like the piece de resistance of Joker Batman stories, and there was a lot of reference to fate and the dichotomy that they have with each other. So I thought that was very well done on the overall. Like I said, there were some things, again, with Batman basically being able to plan for anything, and some of the stuff just seemed a little outlandish, but it never dragged. There was never anything like, oh, Jesus Christ. All right, so let me just keep on reading this. It was engaging throughout, so I did enjoy it. So I'll give the story a 7 out of 10 and the art an 8 out of 10 for the main storyline. We'll get to the sides in a bit. Doc?
7 out of 10 for the story, 8 out of 10 for the artwork. I think you're a better critic of art, so I'll kind of defer to you on that. But in terms of stories, I'm judging this as a Batman story. And from that standpoint, I think it holds up with just about any other Batman story I've read. I don't know exactly the parts that stand out to me more than any other Batman story. As long as it's cohesive, as long as it allows for the main characters to show whatever it is that they're supposed to show through the arc. And in this case, it shows that Joker can be petty, Joker can be incredibly grandiose, and at the same time, Batman somehow has a certain will about him that regardless of the circumstance, he knows that he has to find a way to be the great detective and just figure everything out. And ultimately, regardless of what it does to him, someone is going to be better off for it. Usually he ends up in a lot worse situation and everyone else ends up better. And the fact that he's willing to make that sacrifice, as always, while the Joker is literally happy-go-lucky about the entire fate of Gotham, or in theory wants to destroy everything. It's classic. Totally fine. That's great. I don't have much else beyond that.
All right. So for the side stories, a lot of them, several side stories. So I'm just going to average it out. I give the story a 6 out of 10, and the art a 6 out of 10 because, again, I enjoyed the Batgirl Endgame. I enjoyed Gotham Academy Endgame, and I also dug a couple of the stories, the mini stories that James Tynion was writing. The rest of them, I didn't care much for. And again, the artwork, some of them were good. Some of them were not so great. So I'm going to average the whole thing out. So the additional side stories, I give a 6 out of 10 on the story and a 6 out of 10 on the art. And I think, frankly, the whole trade would have been better, and the whole story arc would have been better had some of these side stories just been dropped. I think it would have elevated the rest of the trade. Where you're going to go, wow, okay, this whole thing is a much better value. But because you have, I still think on the overall, I do think you should go out because, again, I'm giving it 7 and 8 out of 10, and even the 6. So this is an above average trade. Mm-hmm. So I do encourage you, if you are a DC fan, if you are a Batman fan, Joker fan, what have you, then you should go out and buy this book or acquire it in some fashion. Okay. If you're a fan of the side characters, then this is not the book for you. This is not a story because, as you said, Doc, this is a Batman Joker story.
Yeah. Yeah.
With other characters shoehorned in.
Right. So side story, I'd say 5 out of 10. Art, I don't even know how to grade art from multiple different stories. So I don't even know if I can do that. It's fluff. I don't mind it. I can't say it's egregiously wrong or anything, but as I already said, if you didn't have it, you didn't need it. So, hey, I gotta admit, though, having a story of basically the Joker stalking someone for pretty much their whole adult life, I like that story as a whole, as his quote-unquote friend. I really enjoy that. But once again, because that's a Joker story, I don't mind that one bit. If you told me that was its own entire arc of Joker just picking on one random person for 10 issues and Batman trying to figure out why he's not doing anything else and how he could stop him from doing that because it's so insignificant, quote unquote, when it comes to the rest of society, I think that's a great story. So that's just my personal bias. All the other stories, I'm like, I really don't care.
Yeah, agreed. I think we need to see more of Joker with random people because it's so funny.
Yeah.
And it's so entertaining. And this guy is just losing his mind. He's like, no. It's been 5 years. And then Joker just shows up and he's like, hey, did you miss me?
Yeah.
He at one point, he writes in blood on Tommy's floor, miss you me. With a heart.
Yep.
Out of blood.
Yeah.
If that's not true love, I don't know what is. So that's our review of Joker Endgame. So we hope you enjoyed this. Future reviews will be Patreon exclusive for the $3 and up level. So you can go to patreon.com/capesonthecouch and subscribe. And you can hear more fascinating insight like this. So next month's review, it's a little late, I guess. Maybe we probably should have dropped it sooner, or maybe we should have done that one then. But what are you going to do? Lock and Key. Welcome to Lovecraft. So Volume 1, the first 6 issues of Lock and Key, which just now is a Netflix show.
Oh, yeah.
So we're a little behind on it, but we're still. So this will be my first introduction into the Lock and Key story, the whole universe. Yep. I don't know anything about it. We did manage to pick up a the complete Lock and Key collection on Comixology for about $15-16. So very excited about that. And if Welcome to Lovecraft is anything to indicate, and from some of the reviews I've read about the show, it's not bad. I do know it took a lot to get off the ground, that there were a lot of failed adaptation attempts at Lock and Key. Not nearly as many as Why the Last Man, but Lock and Key has definitely been a troubled production for quite some time. So we'll see how the comic holds up. So that's going to be next month. That will be the March trade paperback review. So looking forward to that. So as we said, patreon.com/Capes on the Couch. You can find us on all the social medias at Capes on the Couch. Email us at capesonthecouch@gmail.com. Doc, anything you want to mention?
Just keep doing Batman Joker stories if you're going to focus on Batman Joker stories. Please. Don't mess it up. It's a great formula.
Agreed. So for Doc Issues, I'm Anthony Sitko. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next month.
Capes on the Couch podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Dr. Issues is a psychiatrist, but he is not your psychiatrist and does not have knowledge of your individual situation. For any personal mental health concerns, please consult your own healthcare providers. For medical emergencies, please call 911 or the designated number in your area immediately. Remember that you are not alone and help is out there.